slowly, but still time is running out.
Hey guys, Matt here. I'm out at the beautiful and very hilly Etowah Disc Golf Course to answer a question that maybe like 3 people were asking, and that is, what is the best really floppy overstable driver? For years, the Daredevil Ogopogo and its, what they call this, elastic performance plastic was the best of the best when it came to super floppy overstable drivers. The numbers are 9.4, -2.5. So a little bit of turn, whole lot of fade, and a whole lot of floppiness. So if you wanted a disc that would fly like a seasoned Firebird and stick to the side of almost any hill, this was your option for like the last 6-7 years. Until this year, this past year, when Divergent Discs came out with their stay put silicone compression molded Wyrm here. It's actually clocking in a little bit more overstable. Infinite Discs has their numbers at 9.4 +1.4 or 9.3 +1.4. It's not PDGA approved yet. All of their stay put silicone plastics are prototypes for the moment. This, the Golem, and the Alpas. But it feels really nice. If you get a look at the profile, it's a little bit more typical to like a flare Firebird type wing, whereas the Ogopogo is a little blunter. It has a little bit of a shoulder, but also a little bit of a puddle top.
Yeah, start off with the Ogopogo on kind of a stock backhand line here. Just pump it out there, ride straight, nice little fade, sits down pretty quick. Trying the Wyrm on a similar line, and it bucks out a little bit quicker. Gets to ground a little bit faster and stays put pretty quickly. Trying on a forehand here, I actually torqued over the Ogopogo just a little bit more than I meant to, but it goes out there pretty good and skips out in the road. Similar shot here with the Wyrm, and it fights back hard. Only goes about 260, 270 feet, then crashed down pretty hard. Heading over to the famous cave hole on number 4, Ogopogo rides up there, hits the wall above the cave, and sits down right by the drop zone, 15-footer. And the Wyrm here hits right above the basket and falls almost in the cage. Up on number 8, Ogopogo actually hits this little tree there, but ends up at the edge of the circle. And the Wyrm was so overstable, it actually bucks up before it gets up there and parks the short position, but a little bit shorter than I wanted. Trying to hole 11, the Ogopogo goes way past the landing area, but does stay in bounds. And the Wyrm hooks up hard and gives me about a 10-foot putt. Perfect result there. Trying hole 13. Ogopogo gets up there nicely, parked it. Same shot with the Wyrm, and also parked it. They were actually touching. Over to hole 16, trying to skip it under here, and this looks like it's coming in hot through there, but it actually didn't fall down the edge of the ridge that is right to the left of there. And the Wyrm actually did fall down, but stuck to the side of the hill.
So guys, I hope you enjoyed watching me throw these very floppy drivers around at Etowah. I think of the two, I slightly preferred the Ogopogo to the Wyrm, but it's a very close run thing, and as far as success rate, they were almost identical. On hole 4, they both had birdie putts, but the Wyrm was closer. On hole 8, had a birdie putt from the Ogopogo, and the Wyrm was not quite as close. On 11, Ogopogo was way down there where this one was parked. They were on top of each other, literally like that, on 13. And then on, what was it, 15? 16. On 16, the Ogopogo was hanging on to the edge of the cliff by the basket, whereas the Wyrm was hanging on a little bit further back. So the Wyrm is more overstable. For most people, I think you find the Ogopogo is actually workable. What I do find is a little bit interesting is the Wyrm gouged just a little bit from hitting some rocks, some little chunks taken out of it. Now that is from hitting rocks, as it were, quite literally. And the Ogopogo also hit rocks, but just a couple little baby scuffs along the rim, not quite as affected. But you see, it's kind of interesting. The Ogopogo got filthy, whereas on the same shots, the Wyrm, the dirt doesn't really stick to it. It's kind of weird. The different polymers, just the dirt doesn't really stick to the Wyrm. So That was kind of interesting. I think if I was going to pick one, it would be the Ogopogo, but I do like the Wyrm, and I hope they get PDGA approval for it because I think a lot of players can find it useful. One thing that's kind of interesting about it is it's brutally overstable. It's almost like, not quite tilt level, but it's probably like splice level, and then you can't throw it quite as hard because it literally will start to flex. You can see that on some of my forehands, it was, you know, jiggling a little bit, any bit of torque that is not completely on axis. So it's not quite as forgiving in some ways, and the Ogopogo is not quite as overstable. So for a lot of people, that's going to be the better option. It's also been around a bit, so there's a little bit more opinions out there, and I really like the stamp on both of them. They both have some pretty awesome stamps. Wyrm, if you don't know, is a dragon that either has no legs or just front legs, and the Ogopogo is a mythical lake monster from Canada. So two really cool concepts, cool stamps, and fun discs to throw. Hope you guys enjoyed watching, and have a great day.